Hey guys, this is Goku, and on this channel we talk about poker and ideas that can improve your life. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the subscribe button because I'll be honored to have you here. Today we're gonna jump into another Poker Snowy session where we're analyzing some of the hands that we've played in the past, and right now we're analyzing for the third session a pack of hands that we've played on 888 Poker. And with 2 sessions back, we analyzed the blunders that we made. During the last session, we've analyzed something like 66 errors. We just analyzed a few of them, but 66 hands where we made errors, and we focused on the ones that the error was over 1 BB of EV loss. And during this session, we're going to go over hopefully another 66 or maybe more. So let's jump right into it. For the first hand, we've got King Queen off on a small 7 BBs stack, and we are on the middle position, so obviously we shove it even though there's an open from the under the gun player. And Snowy thinks it's a 1 BB of EV loss error, and I'm actually quite curious what would an ICM calculator say about this, or a fold shove calculator, because we know we're getting called by the under the gun player who's deep, who's got 50 big blinds, and who open under the gun, so who's got a nice solid range. So maybe it should be a fold indeed, even on 7 big blinds. But nonetheless, let's move on. We've got, okay, we need to look for an over 1 BB of EV loss. Let's see if we can find such a hand. Okay, that was a big one again. We analyzed both of these in the first session, and now we've got 1.03. So let's take a look at this. Beginning stages of the tournament, blinds 15, 30. We've got a 5k stack. There's a limp from under the gun, and we decide to limp our 6-9 suited as well, which is a slight error, but it's fine. I mean, you should probably not do that, but if the table is loose and likes limping, then makes sense to see a little bit more flops than usually with some hands with nice potential. We see a flop of 10 deuce 7 with 1 club. The initial limper, the first guy to limp, decides to bet 2/3 of the pot, and we call this, and this is the error. I don't really know why I call this here. We only have a gut shot and backdoor flush draw, which is weak. Maybe we call this by mistake, but yeah, we should just fold here. Let's see what happens next in this hand. Well, there was a deuce of hearts on the turn. The pre-flop limper that the under the gun player bet 1/3 of the pot, and once again we called, which is once again an error. By this point, maybe I'm thinking maybe we had some read on this player, and we just wanted to play a pot versus him, because we should not be getting we should not be calling on the flop, and we should definitely not be calling on the turn here. There was an ace of hearts on the river. The villain checked, and we bet half pot, which is weird. We should bet twice the pot, like Snowy says here. If we did get into this hand to try and bluff him off it, then we need to pull the trigger, and we need to bet big right? If we're gonna bet half pot, that doesn't make sense. He's gonna call us with a lot of hands, and we want to avoid that. So yeah, betting twice the pot, especially on the ace of hearts, on the ace on the river, is the right play and is the one we should make. But we didn't. We just bet half pot and we got called, of course. Okay, right away we've got another hand where on the blinds 25-50, middle position player opens and we 3-bet him to 3x. And somehow Snowy thinks it's an error, which I definitely don't agree with. I think it's perfectly fine. We do not want to just call here in the beginning stages of the tournament because we may just get lots of calls and we do not want to play our queens, our pocket queens in a 5-way pot. We want to 3-bet to make this pot heads up. So yeah, but let's see what happened next in this hand. We got a call from the initial raiser on the 4-9-7 flop. The initial raiser went for a check and we bet half pot and the villain folded. Okay, straight away another one. Once again, blinds 25-50. We've got king 10 off and we decide to limp it, which is a small mistake. There's an open to 3 BBs with 2 limpers from the hijack player. Gets called by the small blind, gets called by the initial limper and by us. And this is the mistake. But once again, I do not think this is a mistake. We are doing this on purpose. We just want to see the flop with our king 10 off and hopefully flop a flush draw or a nice hand in a 4-way pot to hopefully stack one of these opponents. So it's a small investment to maybe see a nice flop. And I would do it again, especially since we're closing the action. So it's pretty much perfect situation for us. But we do not hit anything. The flop is 3 deuce ace. And it checks around to the initial raiser. Gets called by the small blind. And then it goes check, 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 check. And the initial raiser actually wins with ace jack. Let's look for the next hand. Minus 2.9. This was probably one of the blunders, so we're going to skip it. 3.31 was one of the blunders as well. 2.74. Yeah, it was a blunder. I remember it even. 1.51. This may be fun, so let's check it out. Blinds are 250, 500. We've got 100 big blind stack on the button. And under the gun +1 opens for 3 BBs. We call with our king jack off. Well, Snowy thinks it's an error. Small EV loss, but still an error. It is a little bit loose, but not really too much. I'm perfectly fine with calling this here. We see a flop of 4 jack 3 with all clubs. The pre-flop raiser bets half pot and we fold here. And we see folding here is a 1.551 BB of EV loss. And I agree with that. There are 3 clubs on the flop. That's true. But we have a top pair with the second best kicker. And there's plenty of rivers at the turns that are not clubs. And I think we should just not fold here, which is just too early and too weak. But we did fold it, so let's move on. That was definitely a blunder, minus 5.76. Oh, this one may be interesting. 1.3 big blind error. And we see we've got a very small stack, 15 big blinds or something on 125, 250. So beginning stages of the tournament, well, maybe not beginning, but yeah, we are on a short stack, so we need to look for opportunities. We decide to open this pocket force, which is an error, a small one, but Snow is folding pocket force here. I also think that maybe it's better to just shove them than open. But on the other hand, I also like opening, because then we get a chance to fold. But we get shoved on by the player next to us, and we call this, and calling this is the wrong play. Snowy thinks it's a 1.3 big blind of EV loss, and that it's a little bit too loose, and that we need at least 5-5 to call. So, you know, it's close, and I think it's fine. In tournaments, you either want to, you know, double up and have some chance to play, or to get eliminated. No point wasting your time if you're on a short stack. And yeah, but we see we call this, and we actually hit a 4, so we are lucky enough to double up on this hand. And let's move on. 1.27 big blind of EV loss. Let's check this out. Once again, we're very, very short right now. 6 big blinds on 300, 600 blinds. There's an open from middle position player or from hijack, from low jack, and we decide to shove our jack 10 off. And I think it's fine. We're not gonna, I don't like waiting for better hands in this spot. I don't like calling here for a third of our stack. I think we should just shove it. And we do shove it, and and you see we flop a magic flop. We flop a straight with a flush draw, so we're lucky enough to double up here. But you see we're doubling up to 15 big blind stacks, so it's still a long way to go. Minus 1.55, so another one to analyze. 25-50 big blinds, we're on 100 big blind stack, small blind on the small blind with ace-8 off. There are 3 limps. Then the cutoff player decides to raise to 3 BBs. We call this with ace-8. I really don't like it here. I do think it's an error, and we should not be calling it here with a hand like ace-8, because yeah, there's 1, 2, 3 limpers, and then there's an open, so the probability that some of these players will re-raise and make us fold our hand is pretty big. And even if you play this, then what are we hoping to hit with ace-8? If it was a suited hand, then sure, I can understand calling here and trying to flop a nice board, but with ace-8 off, it should just be an auto fold. But we see that the raiser got some action, and we go into a 5-way flop of king 8-10. It goes check, 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 and the preflop raiser just shoves, and we see the hijack player calling with his draw and hitting it. So there's that. This was a blunder for sure. Can look for. This was also a blunder. But this we definitely did not analyze yet, so let's take a look. Blinds 25-50, we've got 200 big blind stack. There's the limp, and we decide to limp along with our A-Jack off. Here I don't like limping with A-Jack off. We should just raise from the button. Well, we should just fold mostly, but if we're... Well, actually calling here is a smaller EV loss than raising, so... But yeah, I think I'd prefer opening it rather than just limping. Well, on the other hand, in the early stages of the tournament, it might make sense to just try and limp a little bit looser. Well, limp in general. But the small blind player pops it up to 5 BBs, gets a call, and we call here as well, and here I agree. It's just too loose to call here. If we had a hand like 8-Jack suited, then that would be much better. Or 10-Jack suited, ideally. Or 8-9 suited. Then we can see the flop. But 8-Jack off, nah, just too weak of a hand. And we see a flop of King Ace 4 with 2 hearts. It goes half bet, half pot, call, and we fold. Deuce of diamonds on the turn, it goes bet, half pot, call, and on the 9 of clubs, once again the small blind player bets half pot and gets the other one to fold. Okay, we've got 17 minutes, I see, so this will be it for this session. We're gonna play one last session, and I think that will be it for Poker Snowie. We're gonna try and look for another piece of software to go through. And I was looking at ICMizer. Maybe that's what we're gonna check out next. I don't know yet, but I will figure it out, and hopefully it will be fun. I really enjoyed Poker Snowie. It's been fun using this software, and thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and in the meantime I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.